Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Josh and Artemis Show. Tonight we have April Hutchinson back on again, our favorite reoccurring guest. We are going to do an update. She was in the newspaper, which is really cool, in the National Post. We're going to talk about Leah Thomas and how he is not allowed in the Olympics, obviously disqualified. What else have we got? We've got, what's this? A funny thing about U-turns apparently being anti-gay. We've got, actually, this was like breaking news. Donald Trump just came out with a statement about banning everything. Another statement. We've shared one before, but we're going to play this one as well, which is really cool.
Things are changing. That's my impression now. We've been talking about this for a while. But the last 2 weeks or so, we've been saying on this show, look, things are changing. People are waking up. Organizations are starting to realize what they've done here. And the National Post article, which came out, I think it's a 3-page spread. And it's a very balanced piece as well. I did read through it today. It's a very balanced article. So I think it's great to see that the media now, even though it's slow, and it is still Tranada, but it is,
or Trana West, because all these Western countries.
But it is great to see that things, I think, are beginning to come back to some sort of reality. I think this movement in terms of rejecting all this stuff, it's beginning to gather a lot of momentum now, and things are beginning to change. So we need to keep it up, keep calling this out. And the guest we have on today, April, has been doing it for a couple of years now, and the hard work she's done is starting to pay off.
Yeah, finally, which is good to see.
Yeah.
Women just need to keep using their voice and not let trans women, aka men, have more rights than women do. Yeah. So I'm sure we will go on a rant about that as well, because, well, it infuriates real women who have, the confidence to actually call this stuff out. We do get support behind the scenes, but it's like, use that voice, just start calling it out. You don't have to have a big following. Just start saying it like it is, don't be afraid. Like, it's women's rights at the end of the day as well. So, we need to use our voices, but,
absolutely. I can see April is backstage.
April's back. So why don't we bring her in?
Let's bring her in.
All right. I think it's this one. Oh, wait, this one.
That one. Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, guys.
How's it going?
Very good. How are you guys?
Great. Yeah. Good. It's great to have you back on the show again. I think you're the guest we've had on the most on the show now.
Yeah. Well, it's because I love you guys, right? I always have something to talk about. So
true.
Hey, we love having you on. It's like our favorite reoccurring guest.
Yeah.
Like a second home for you.
I feel like when I saw you a couple of weeks ago, we didn't have a chance to talk in person. So it kind of sucked. So we have to make up for that.
You have a big fan base, and everybody wanted to get in and talk to you.
Yeah,
so.
you were like the star of the show. So it's like, we can't interrupt her. She's doing her thing. So it's all good. So in terms of today's show, then, so you were involved in this article which came out in the National Post, and I've read through it today, a massive article and a very balanced article, which was great to see, because usually we only get one side of the story where they're trying to push this trans agenda. But it was great to see a more balanced kind of piece. So what's your thoughts on the article in terms of how it turned out?
Well, initially when the journalist reached out to me, I thought, so I knew she was going to be interviewing myself, Dr. Linda Blade, and then Katia, the boxer, who, Katia and I have become friends through all of this, because she's probably one of the only other athletes that have, she kind of spoke up when it first happened, when she was kind of forced to compete against a man, but she was also behind the scenes because of her job too, right? Like she does have a job where she can't be as open as I am. So, but now she's being able to do interviews and stuff. So initially I thought the article was just going to be about how we used sports to kind of get through our mental health and struggles, because Katia, her story is a lot like mine. She's a recovering drug addict, and she basically used boxing to help her. and she went through the schooling, and now she's a psychologist. Like, what a story of success. So that's what I thought the article was about. So I spent about an hour with the reporter talking, and then it got delayed when they were pushing it out. All I knew it was going to be a huge article. It's going to be a feature article. It's going to be front page. And I was like, amazing. I didn't really expect it to be what it was. And I thought, wow, like I actually wrote the reporter today and I said, thank you so much. I said, because I was almost in tears because I said, first of all, it's a hard job to do what she does. Such a balanced article and to display both sides of it, right? So, professionally and in a respectful manner as well. Was I crazy about the language that she used? No. Referring to people as trans women or this and that, but whatever. I see how, obviously, especially National Post has to do that. But no, I just said thank you because I said we weren't having these conversations even 6 months ago. Like they weren't even touching this topic in the papers, right? Even CBC reached out to me right after they saw the article. Wow. And they wanted me on their TV show, Canada Tonight. And I said, sure. I said, I'll go on. But they were trying to find someone else to go on with me, like a panel. And they couldn't find someone from the other side.
Yeah.
Who
would they get?
So they said, well, we're not going to do it. And I said, well, wait a second here. Why can't you just report the news that Canadians want to hear? Like, we want to hear about this topic. They wanted to talk about the Leah Thomas ban. And I said, people want to hear about this. And plus, the Olympics are coming up. And guess what? It's also Pride Month. Why are you not doing a huge show on this, regardless if you have the other side present or not? Like, did they think I'm going to get on there and just like blah, 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 badmouth people? Like, I've always been respectful. I've always said there should be a separate category, but I just thought like typical CBC, right? Like, it's, so, but anyways, we were so happy about the article. I'm definitely going to frame it, as a time capsule and put it up on my wall because, it was so well done. We had Martina in there with her quote and it was just amazing. It's huge, huge progress for women for sure.
For sure. Well, let's share the article. We'll read some of it out. We'll share it on screen. And we'll link this in, guys, as well, for anyone who hasn't seen this, because usually this kind of news is on X these days and not everyone uses X. So we'll link it in the description as well. So let's have a look at the headline first, and then we'll read some of it.
Yeah, I was like, what?
So that's a picture of Kat. Is it Kata? Is that how you pronounce it?
Kata.
Yeah, Katya. Yeah.
So can transgender athletes compete at the Olympics? It depends on the sport. Yeah. So trans inclusion rules that allow athletes to compete in the gender category of their choosing is dividing the sports world. True. Right. Let's go down. I want to read some of Katya's part of the article. Keep going down.
Yeah, I was like, what? This doesn't look like it belongs.
Keep going.
Oh, story continues below. There we
go. Here we go.
Yeah.
Katya Bissonnette wasn't thinking about our early ancestors when she left her hotel room last October with her combat gear, shoes, boxing suit, skipping rope, mouthpiece, and bandages. The psychologist and amateur boxer from Sigourney, is that how you pronounce it?
Saguenay. Oh, it's in Quebec, so Saguenay or something.
Quebec, okay.
Yeah.
Was heading into warm-up before Quebec Provincial Golden Gloves contest in Victoriaville, her first official fight in front of a referee. She's 36 and relatively new to the sport, a former drug addict who started using at 13 and didn't stop until she was 30. Bissonnette took up boxing 2 years ago after completing her doctorate in psychology and falling into an absolute existential void. Boxing gave her meaning. So that ties into what you were saying about how your sport saved you from similar issues, April.
Yeah. So basically, if people don't know my story, it's very similar. That's why we've become friends, is because, I started drinking at the same age at 13, 12, and I was a full-fledged alcoholic when I was 18. And I struggled with it majority of my life. So when I got sober, I actually found powerlifting to help me with my mental health and addictions. So to help me stay sober.
For sure. Right. Scroll down a bit, because it does talk about her. Hang on a second. Okay, what she didn't know was that she'd soon be backed into a corner, not by punches, but by a subtle text message to her coach from another coach an hour before she was due to step into the ring. Her opponent had not always lived as a woman, the message read. I mean, just imagine, right? You're a woman. How would you feel if you got a text message like that before a fight?
Honestly, I'd probably be terrified.
Yeah.
I'd be like, what kind of man am I fighting up against? Yeah. And this isn't what I signed up for. That would be my reaction. I'd be like, hey, like, is this even legal? Am I about to get like beaten to death? What does this guy look like? Like, how are we in the same category? Those would be like some questions in my mind. Like, yeah, obviously I'd be scared. Like all of a sudden, like you think like, okay, you know, you've got fair competition against another woman. And like, you know, if she beats me, like, that's just like, you know, more equal and fair. But like, if you hear you're going to fight against a guy, like, no,
Yeah,
like, no, in any other situation, that's like, you know, physical, like abuse or assault by a man, and they could go to prison. So like, how is it okay in a boxing ring? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And shame on that. I'll tell you the history between it's Donnybrook. It's called Donnybrook Gym, and shame on them for even not, they didn't even tell Katya about this. So I don't know who the random person was that warned them. Thank God they did. But this Donnybrook Gym is so shady that they were going to let this go on, and they didn't disclose this information. So how sick was that they were just going to let this man get in with Katya? Wow. And also that same gym, Donnybrook, I want people to remember that name, Donnybrook, because it's really important to call these gyms out. Katya was supposed to fight, well, she did fight 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago at another championship, and she actually went, and on the registration, her opponent was registered with an M, meaning male. So she was like, what the hell? So she went and fought, and she actually lost. It was her first fight that she lost to an 18-year-old. That we called them out the day after the registration magically got switched to an F, to a female. So we later found out that this person was in transition mode and was on hormones and transitioning. I was like, she should never have gotten to that ring knowing, or with that guy's, even if it was a female, if it said an M, it should never have happened in the first place. So again, they're you know, it's not safe. So
it's just insane. I mean, you know, we talk about this to death on this show, and what always amazes me is just there's no regard at all for women. Like there's literally zero. It's just you're going to fight this bloke. And there's nothing you can do about it. And if you do, we're going to ban you. It's just absolutely insane. Well, like it's really hard to get your head around. It's really hard.
Yeah, because when a woman calls something out, whether it's in sports or in a change room or wherever, that they're uncomfortable that there's a man there, but they're identifying as a woman, it's like, we have no rights. Like all of a sudden it's like, no, you need to accept it. And it's like, what? Like, this is why the other day I was like, trans women have more rights than women.
Yeah, like, that's why, and I saw that episode, and that's why I really wanted to talk to you about that. Because I mean, like now with this article out there, and I said this when I went to the Megan Murphy talk in Vancouver, and I said, like, it's true, women's rights are just getting trampled on by men, and we really have to stop saying the word trans women, because they are not women, they are men, and they're taking every goddamn right away from us, whether it's our sports, our shelters, our safety, our bathrooms, right? So, and I said this to Rebel News when I said to them, like, we need to shout now. It's to the point where we have to get angry, and I'm not saying in a very violent way. I'm not condoning violence. I'm not condoning anyone get hurt, but I'm saying if we have to band our arms together, like I said, women, link your arms together and block that change room from Nicholas Sapita going in there and swimming with your little girls. Do you think the police are going to rip apart a band of women, like homemakers or women, what have you, That's going to be a wonderful video if that ever happened. But do you think that's going to happen? Or men stepping in and protecting their little girls? Like that would be viral if the police actually arrested people because they're like, no, I actually want to protect my little 10-year-old girl from going into a change room with a man. But no one's doing that. And we need to start doing that. We need to start calling them out, you know, especially if they're in the change room, call them out, you know, like, it's too much.
Who's in their right mind going to let their like daughter be exposed to that? Like,
but it's happening. Happening.
I know. And we haven't seen any updates on Cepeda. We've been like looking around, and then on Rebel News, all their videos are taken down.
Well, because I think Cepeda's I don't know if he's suing or not, but there's some legal case there. So
we figured, because we were like, wait, where we were like going back on old episodes on Rebel News, of course. And and we were like, yeah, there hasn't been an update on Cepeda. So we started looking and we're like, there's nothing. I was Googling him. There's nothing. I'm like, what? Like, where did he just fall off the face of the earth? Like, what?
Yeah, I don't know if he's suing or if he threatened to or something, but I don't know what happened there. But I mean, it was kind of like it was kind of like with the rugby thing. I went with David Menzies to the rugby team thing, and we've just decided to give up on the rugby team because you know what? People are just too supportive of him. Like, I was there, I talked to the police, and even the police made it seem like, you know, we were the bad ones just for asking questions. And I said to the police officer, so it's okay for that grown man to go into that locker room right now? That's okay, but you're going to arrest David Menzies for asking a few questions. And she's like, well, that's not respectful. I said, what, asking Ash a couple of questions? That's disrespectful. I said, it's our right. We're on public property. Plus he's going into a locker room with females. And
this man's not even trying. Like, he looks ridiculous.
So I mean, I'm just saying the whole team looks like they support him, even though we've had emails sent to us saying like, look, I'm going to be kicked off the team if I'm vocal about it. What do? I don't want Ash playing. He's going to hurt us. He has hurt players. People have reached out, but then when we go to interview them in person, they're so scared because they're being intimidated by the federation to shut up, or else you're going to get kicked off the team. And so that's where we are today, is that, I mean, we can't go back and help because, I mean, no one wanted help that day we're there. So it's kind of same with the Nicholas Cepeda thing. Until the women, the mothers and the fathers step up and stand in front of that locker room and say, look, stay the F out of that room, and you're not swimming with my little girl. Don't go, you know, you shouldn't be in this category. Then what can we do, right?
Yeah.
I know.
Unless there's a change of government. So
yeah, and when you were there, did you notice a difference between if people felt differently off, like if they weren't on film? Did you notice a difference in their opinions to people who weren't on film during that time?
There was people. It's true. So when I went with Rebel, so I'm not a reporter, right? And I'm also an athlete. So I found it like, you know, when the rugby team, whether it was Ash's team or the other team, you know, they were getting ready to go onto the field. They were ready to play this game and practice. So, so they were trying to ask them questions during that time, right? During warm up. And I said to myself, if I was a player, I wouldn't want to be bothered right now by reporters.
No, not during warm up.
That should say, get lost. Whether I agreed or not, I'd be like, look, I'm in a zone right now. I need to win this game. I don't want to be dealing with this stuff. So I can kind of see why some of them were like, hey, get off the field. Don't bother us. We want to play our game. Totally respect that. And that's why I wasn't there for that part. I left. I went for lunch and I wasn't there during the rest and all that other stuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, to me, there's boundaries. But I mean, after the game, when we tried to ask questions, I actually would ask a couple, even men that look like burly, bearded, beer-drinking men. And they're like, oh, I don't care. It doesn't affect me. We're all human, aren't we? And I was like, what? Like, how could you say that? I hope you don't have daughters. Like,
no.
So it's okay for a man to get into the boxing ring thing, I guess, too. Like, it's just...
It's just crazy. It's just crazy because we say this all the time. But, you know, if you have a woman in your life or like young girls in your life, like a daughter or like a niece, you should be outraged by this stuff. It doesn't matter if you're a woman or not. I mean, anyone with common sense should just be annoyed by this whole thing, So it's just strange when I hear people, and especially men, and it's like, oh yeah, I don't give a shit. It doesn't affect me, but it will affect you eventually if you don't call this out,
Yeah.
It will impact your life eventually.
Those are weak, scared men. Good to see you, the Patriots.
Good to see you. Good to see you guys.
Yeah. Well, I think too, like the couple men that I asked, I think they lacked education too. I really think that they were just kind of told like, oh, trans women are women. And they're like, okay. And also, they didn't look like they were the most respectful of men. So I don't really think they go home and respect their wives too much.
Their wives, yeah.
So,
wives become the punching bags.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I said this on a couple of podcasts. There's a lot of real men out there that are supporting, like my boyfriend being one of them. There's a lot of great men out there that
Josh.
Josh.
That's right.
Josh and George from the lifeguard from British Columbia. You guys are going to talk to him tomorrow. So
yeah, he's going to come on tomorrow. He's such a smart young man. He gives me
very
hope.
Very intelligent.
George gives me hope that there's some sane young some sane youngsters out there.
Yeah. Not definitely. All the youth is captured, which is nice to see for sure. So I think he's like, 24, 25, he said, I think. Yeah. So it's nice to see. It's like, thank God there's some.
Let's read some of this article, Scott, because I wanted to go down to Martina Navratilova's quote, because she pretty much sums it up perfectly. It's short and sweet. If you keep going down. Here. It's insane and it's cheating. That's it. But it's
literally, it's just, that's all you need to say.
That's all you need to say. And this is coming from someone as prestigious as Martina Navratilova, one of the greatest female athletes ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if you saw this story, April, but there was a story we brought on the show the other day, and it's the incoming BBC Sports director. And he basically came out and said that Martina Navratilova doesn't have any say on trans athletes. Like, she's not an expert on sport, and
that was ridiculous.
And basically saying that her opinion doesn't matter on this issue. And
I did not catch that. No, but that's
And but this is what I'm saying. It's just a complete disregard for the other side of the argument, which you've tried to get across, which Martina has tried to get across, which Riley Gaines has tried to get across, and others as well. And it's just crazy how you guys have got all this experience being involved in female sports. So you should have more of a voice in the media in this issue as like a balancing act, because right now we're getting one side, but we need to see people like you in these news shows, on these panels, calling this out, because we need a balanced kind of argument so the public are more informed on this. Do you think that'll happen at some point, that you'll be on a panel on like the news with like a more balanced viewpoint? Do you think that will happen?
No, I would love that. I mean, I was looking forward to it even on CBC if they had it, but no, it's kind of funny actually. I always laugh with Megan Murphy about this, is that I went to a couple of speeches with her, and she draws the trans activists, and every time I go to a speech, no one shows up. So I said, people must be afraid of me or something. I don't know what it is. So, maybe. But no, I would love to do a panel. First of all, I love public speaking. You guys know that. So, I mean, I love politics now. I'm getting more into politics. Not to the point where I'm going to run for politics, but I enjoy helping the conservatives, especially over in British Columbia. So I mean, that's the thing with this article coming out now. I mean, that's huge, because I think it's going to open a lot of doors, because I think other shows will approach me and possibly start doing panels and stuff. And as far as a guy with BBC, like, I don't know much about him, but it always makes me laugh when a man steps in and says something about this. And I was like, well, you can just take a seat. So
I know.
take a seat there. Take
a
seat.
You clearly don't understand, and he's being hired in sports to talk about, but yet wasn't his background like he went to university for like French and
he doesn't have any
something
background.
ridiculous. It had nothing to do with sports. So he went to university for something completely different. So it's like, how are you even an expert, and how did you get this job?
Yeah.
Like I don't
Well,
understand.
even Serena Williams. Remember, Serena Williams went on TV and said, "Look at."
Yeah.
So I guess he could say the same thing. That I hope he says the same stuff to Serena then. That she has no experience in this field, because she actually said on public TV, "I would lose to like the boys, like the men."
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Well, she didn't she? There was I think there was like an exhibition match between Serena Williams and I think it was like a male player who was ranked, I want to say like 500 in the world. I could be wrong, but it wasn't in the top 100 for sure. And Serena Williams got beaten straight sets, so that shows you that even Serena, who's like at that time was the best female player in the world, she got beat by a man who wasn't even in the top 100. So again, it just tells you all you need to know, Let's go down to April's part. I think it's further down.
Yeah, it's underneath that one.
Yeah, and then we'll go on to Leah Thomas. Yeah. So I didn't know what that meant, Hutchinson said. We had a great conversation.
Because Andres referred to herself as a she-boy.
She-boy.
First of all, himself.
Yeah. Himself
as a she-boy. Also, what a weird term.
This is what winds me up of all of these articles who talk about this. They always use these people's preferred pronouns. I don't know why they keep doing it.
Yeah.
Because of me. And underneath there it says that I was suspended for allegations of. So basically, I was suspended. First of all, it says like harassment and misgendering. So I don't know if they deemed misgendering as harassment, but I'll tell you, I have never harassed Anne. I've never even spoken to Anne since the day that we cut off communication, when I said, look, it's not fair that you're competing. And he deleted and blocked me. I have never reached out to him. I've actually blocked him on all my social media so that he wouldn't actually see any of my stuff. There's no reason for me to talk to him. I literally posted stuff on media such as Safe Women's Sports, Keep Men Out of Women's Sports, and they deemed that harassment, just those words. They deemed it like hate speech, harassment. And then the Piers Morgan show, when I referred to Anne as a biological male, they considered that harassment and misgendering and hate speech. So that's basically why I was suspended, because it went against their social media policy, which means, their social media policy is like, you have to use pronouns. You can't protest against any person going into a certain category. It's all these it's like 10 pages of garbage, to be honest.
Basically, yeah.
But again, just trying to curtail our speech at the end of the day. So, I would do it all over again, because I'm not going to, whatever. But it is what it is. And I think we both agree, probably the suspension was the best thing that happened to me, because it got worldwide attention too, right? So
yeah.
But every time you come on the show and then you tell us your story, it makes me angry.
I know, all over again. I know.
We've heard it so many times, but every time I hear it, I'm just like, how is that even possible?
Not to mention, on that Piers Morgan segment, they played that clip of Anne, dissing and belittling women, saying how they're so weak and their bench is so weak. It's like, okay, do you think this man has respect for women? It was like that clip alone, on top of everything else that this man has said, but even just playing that clip. So it's like, okay, so, you saying that women, biological males shouldn't compete with women is harassment or deemed as hate. And yet everything in that clip, which was way more offensive to women, and him just basically saying that women are weak and not as strong, which duh, I mean, men are stronger, but it's like, you know, that's not deemed as hate or harassment or just like,
well, that's the thing.
Like bullying other women that he's competing with. Like, it's just like,
well, plus remember the death, he sent death threats, remember, to myself and Danielle Smith. And I mean, I had to call the police. So, and that's the thing, for a year and a half, I mean, I have every video and every screenshot saved in the Google Drive of what Ann put out there. He's deleted his Instagram. So we did save everything because it was like, it was so much, that so many threats and so many bad things he said, and then people reported it and he didn't get any discipline. He got nothing. So it was just a very biased board to begin with. I'm sure they're kicking themselves now for suspending me in the first place. The president obviously resigned after. I did have the policy changed, which was great. So kudos to everyone that spoke up, because we had it changed. So I mean, that was my number one thing that I wanted, and it happened. But as far as Ann's concerned, I've never wanted anything bad to happen to Ann. I have always been somewhat like respectful. I mean, if they want to think that me saying that, you know, keep men out of women's sports is disrespectful, that's their opinion. That's their opinion only. And that's fine. They can have that. It doesn't mean it's right. But all I wanted Ann to do was to go into a separate category and to get some psychological help, because obviously he needs the psychological help. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, big time.
Right, let's move on to Leah Liar Thomas next.
I know.
Liar.
Yeah, like Taylor Silverman, she like said, let's just start calling him Liar Thomas. I was like, okay, that is brilliant, honestly. So I even updated the description.
But this article ties into two things which I think are important. So so we've got the news that Liar Thomas has been banned from competing in female categories in the Olympics, but that doesn't mean he can't compete in the male group. But of course we know he won't. Of course we know he won't.
Probably wouldn't even qualify.
But Paula Scanlon has rightfully came out and said, well, where the fuck's our apology? Because let's not forget, Liar Thomas was changing in front of these women
18 times a week.
Yeah, exposing his like junk to these women, girls. And she's rightly come out and said, okay, where the hell's our apology? And you know, we've been talking about this for the last few days on the show, but my big concern is, I mean, the tide is beginning to turn now, and that's great to see. But when it all comes back to reality at some point, which of course it will, who's going to be punished for this? What's going to be the punishment for the people who have been pushing this crazy agenda the past few years? I mean, do you think we'll get to see people punished for this, April, or not? Because I'm really not sure.
Well, I mean, the stuff that I know is so deep. I mean, I don't know if you guys run in the same circles as me, but I mean, there's a way higher agenda than what even just the normal person would know what's going on, right? The whole pushing of the LGBT plus community down to the Rothschilds. I mean, this is the hierarchy here, is the Rothschilds, right? And you know, they basically started it all, the whole like gender diversity, getting it involved in schools and all this. And then you have, I think, what Billboard Chris put, this human rights campaign group, which is huge. I'm pushing it out. I mean, you have CCES, Athletic Alley. They're also pro-trans groups. And the Center for Ethics in Sports is basically, I mean, it governs a lot of these sports. Like I have to actually take the course every year in order to compete. I have to do the CCES True Clean Sport certificate every year in order to compete in my sport. And they're the same center that says that, you know, testosterone doesn't play a role. Women should just work harder, train harder, hit the gym more, get better nutrition, and you can beat a guy. Like it's just,
it's pathetic. You know, so it's pathetic.
There's all these branches. I do think it comes down to money, and like, of course, it's money, right? So I don't know if anyone in particular is going to get punished for it. I think there's going to be a lot of lawsuits for sure. A lot of lawsuits. And so, I mean, I don't know. I'm still kind of thinking about doing one myself down the road. I don't know yet, but we'll see. But I think there's just going to be a lot of lawsuits, put it that way. More so in the States than Canada, because Canada is kind of lagging behind. But I think now with the change of government coming, there's going to be some major changes.
For sure.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I mean, we've had Pierre call this out. I think it was a few months ago. He's basically said, look, we want to keep men out of female sports, and then just before we went live tonight, we had Donald Trump saying the same stuff.
Give an update. So we have the clip to play as well.
Let's bring this up, actually.
Okay, well, yeah, it's relevant right now.
So this actually broke, I think it was like 5 minutes before we came live. So we'll play you this, April, and I want to get your reaction. Yeah.
On day one, I will sign a new executive order to cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content onto the lives of our children. And I will not give 1 penny to any school that has a vaccine mandate or a mask mandate. And I will keep men out of women's sports.
Yeah, like I wish
you guys should send me this.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm gonna post it on Instagram after as well. I can tag you in it.
Yeah.
But what's like your thoughts on that from Trump there?
Well, I mean, so first of all, you have Biden and Trump, right? So, I mean, I'm not American. I don't vote, obviously, for that. But if I had to obviously pick one or the other, I would definitely go with Trump, just for the mere fact of what he said right here, right? Mm-hmm. Do I agree with everything that he stands for or wants? No. But, I mean, that's with every politician. There's not one politician that you could solidly say, oh, I just agree with every point, But I'll tell you, Biden is a very dangerous man. He literally wants to erase women. He basically, he doesn't care. He wants men in women's sports. He wants men in the locker rooms. He thinks it's okay. So, I mean, and he's not well. He's pretty senile right now at this point.
Very old, senile, sniffing kids, like touching them. Like,
so it's not a good. Yeah, it's not a good scene for him. Like he has to go, and it's almost like the lesser of two evils. Who would I vote for? Of course, Trump. But to be honest, I enjoy Trump. I get a kick out of him. He just seems like a very simple creature. Like we like simple. People can connect with simple. He's not bullshit. Yeah. Like he says it how it is.
Because he's more of like a businessman than a politician, and like also he is quite comical. Like he doesn't care. He'll say what he's thinking. And like we always view like American politics, like especially around elections, just in general, like almost like they're in like WWE, like they're like going hard in their speeches and like just it's really good entertainment. And I mean, definitely what Trump has been saying in this clip and the previous one he released like a few months ago was like just exactly to the point. No like footsie tootsing like to like try to cater to people's feelings or like say the wrong thing. He literally just said nope, I'm gonna ban it all day one. And then here he said it again. It's like thank you, like just just tell it like it is. And keep men out of women's sports, like, and just don't try to cater to both sides. Just cater to facts and like common sense and like protecting children. It's like it's not that hard. And so like I do love the way he just gets right to the point.
Yeah,
of course, like everybody, you can't agree with every single thing.
Nobody's
but definitely
perfect. Nobody's perfect
with these conversations. And there's a lot more going on upstairs than with Biden. So I don't know.
I think
he'd be my heart.
Yeah, I forget what I was going to say. But no, I mean, like with the polls, like we've all seen the polls now, like the support for the LGBT plus is declining, right? Mm-hmm. I think it was 1 out of 5 support men and women's sports, right? Like this topic, even if he just said, I want to keep men out of women's sports, well, majority agree with that. So, you know what I mean? Like, Same with Canada. Like a majority are on that side. It's the minority amount of people. Well, let's be honest. It is a minuscule amount of people that we're catering to in the first place, right? I'm not talking about LGB. I'm talking about the T plus.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, for sure.
No, for sure. I mean, we interact with a lot of gay people on X, especially, and I've got people in my family who are gay as well. And it's just crazy how there's such a large group of the gay community who are completely against this, right? But you never hear about it. You never hear about it in the media. It's like they think all gay people are representative of this movement, which just completely isn't true.
No, I can't think of like all my gay friends. They're first of all, they don't celebrate Pride. They stopped celebrating a long time ago because they're like, it's not the same as it used to be. It's not what the point is anymore. And they don't support the T. They don't support the trans cult coming in, and unfortunately, it's ruined it for them. And I mean, I have friends and family too, and I've always been a huge supporter of LGB. I always will be, and it's sad to see this happening to that community. Literally, what we'd say has been hijacked, right? And it's just, and they really don't want anything to do with it. And and it's I was thinking that the other day when I was going to go to that drag queen show and protest at the kids reading thing there, and I was just like, and I see commercials on TV. I'm like, what does this drag queen have to do with Pride? Like,
I know.
If you think about it, it's a man's fetish. It's a man living out his fetish, wearing women's clothing. What does that have to do with LGB? Like, or Pride? It shouldn't. It's basically saying, hey, feed my fetish, validate me, and it's crazy. Like the amount of mental illness out there. I feel like I said to my boyfriend, I said, I feel like I went into this one store and there was like rainbow everything. There was little rubber duckies that said emotional support duckies and all this stuff. No, but I'm like, what is going on? We are, and people, adults are walking around going, oh, I love it. This is great. I'm like, what is going on? Like, how old are you? What are we supporting here? We're literally promoting mental illness and glorifying it. We're not getting help for the people that need it, right? So
for sure. Like, if they want to do any kind of funding, fund more for like psychological or like therapy for people instead of just jumping to conclusions to, get onto puberty blockers and surgery. It's like, but again, it does come down to money. Like it's the like, I think it's going to be one of the biggest like medical scandals of our like generation. Yeah. Like people will look back on this and think, what was going on? Like,
no, exactly.
Clearly, like there was clearly some kind of weird agenda and people were manipulated and, the youth was manipulated into this. And now they're left with being tied to the medical industry for the rest of their lives once they go through that process. And, like we always say, because obviously we do support LGBT very much, but being trans is anti-gay. Like that's the thing with like some people don't even think about it that way, but it's like instead of letting, let's say, a little boy who's maybe into playing dress up, either he's just having fun because he's a kid, or maybe he'll grow up to be gay, and that's totally fine. But instead, we're telling this little boy, okay, no, because you like playing in dresses or whatever, Barbies, you're actually a girl and you should be a girl. And it's like, just let him be, because kids, like, they don't even think of things that deep. Like they're just playing and having fun.
But here's the crazy thing. Everything you just said is completely correct and grounded in reality, right? But people would say you're completely wrong there.
I know.
How?
I know.
Like, how is what you've said wrong?
It doesn't make any sense. And I have like had a couple people DM me about this because I'm like sharing things on like my Insta story on like my Instagram, not only our business one. And like, they'll be like, oh, well, if my daughter came out as trans, I would totally affirm and support her. And like, I'm listing all these things. Like, what about a man in the change room with her who identifies as a woman who's exposing his penis? You're okay with that? What about if she plays sports? What about
Yeah.
Are you going to let her go on puberty blockers that sterilize her? What about if she gets older and goes through surgeries, but then regrets it later and has complications? And then her only response was, okay, you're kind of ruining my vibe. I was in the middle of coloring with my daughter. I'm like, okay, you message me. I'm like, if you're going to say that you're going to support this, do you even know anything about it? Or are you just jumping on the bandwagon saying, yeah, I will totally affirm her and support her if she does decide to be a boy? It's like, get a life, go back into reality, and also do some research, because you think that I'm being transphobic. Meanwhile, I'm not scared of them at all. You think that I'm just being like hateful. Meanwhile, I live in reality and I've done my research. And if you want me to actually talk with you and like help you understand this, for sure. But if I'm ruining your vibe, then I mean, go live in your bubble and good luck.
Yeah.
Because like it's a lot more sinister than just being kind and like affirming your child. You're actually doing a lot more harm to your child. It's like it's child abuse. Like
It's child abuse. Yeah.
Like
yeah. Well,
no,
and I know because I talked to my boyfriend. My boyfriend said, like, obviously, if he has 3 girls, if any of them ever came up, he said, there's no hell way I would call them a boy if they wanted to be a boy. Like, but no, I definitely think it's child abuse. And I mean, like I've said it before, Megan Murphy says it all the time. There's no such thing as a trans kid. No. If you say you have a trans kid, then there's something wrong with the parenting there, because it's a kid being a kid. I was confused as a kid. I was 6 years old. I wanted to be a boy. I cut my hair. I thought I was a boy, because I had sexual trauma that I wasn't dealing with. And so, I mean, and then I found alcohol. But I mean, it's a very common thing for kids to go through. And again, probably comes down to the whole money thing. But the parents are really going to regret it too. Say if little Johnny or whoever transitions and then they get suicidal and they're like, oh shit, I made the wrong decision, right?
Yeah.
So that's why
saving their lives. No, it's not.
Yeah.
Because you can't fix something psychological with something physical. Like it is that basic. Like
I think one of the best analogies is would you affirm an anorexic kid? No, you wouldn't.
You wouldn't tell them, go get liposuction.
Yeah.
You need to go on a diet and lose more weight. I mean,
that's the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. That's one of the best examples for me, because you wouldn't tell an anorexic teenage girl to get liposuction. You just wouldn't.
The only thing I compare it to is, when you watch those TV shows and you see like the My 600 Pound Life, and you see the parents that are, oh, okay, I'll cook him. Like the kid lives at home and they cook him a pound of bacon and they just keep feeding him because they love them so much.
Yeah, they're enabling it.
It's the only thing I can compare it to be honest. They're loving them, but they're actually doing more harm. Like they're actually harming them by doing that, right? So that's exactly this case, right? Well, you're actually harming your child by actually affirming that and validating it, or telling them that they're trans or that they can be a different sex and stuff, right? So, but I'll make a point though, when you were talking about I forget what the subject was, but you used the word transphobic. And it's funny, when I first started talking about progression and stuff a year ago, a couple of people would be like, oh, you're so transphobic, or you're a bigot, or this and that. I don't hear that at all now. And it's been months. And before it was like the word of the day, right?
Yeah, it was like
and now I don't get it at all. I've never have anyone, and I'm talking about people on my Facebook, they're like, oh, that's transphobic or blah, blah, blah. I don't get that at all. I haven't been called a bigot. I haven't been called transphobic. You know why? Because we're talking about it. It's out there. I'm like, look at my Facebook. I'm like, I make it public. Anyone can see it. I have no hate mail. I don't get any hate messages. I mean, I didn't get many to begin with, right? But I'm just saying it's non-existent anymore. People are fed up. People are talking, and the more and more people that talk about it, the better, because it gets rid of these words like bigot and transphobic, which, were just words to begin with. But
yeah,
it's true. I've gotten more, I was going to say, just to end that point, I have gotten like more DMs from like friends or like past coworkers that are like, I completely agree with this. but there was like two different people, but I was like, oh my, yeah. Like, I mean, you can't convince people, but it's like the truth always comes out. And that's what I've probably said that quote just in general for years. Just the truth does always come out no matter what the topic is. Like, it's just, it always has a way of finding itself. So, eventually people wake up and, I'll keep doing what I'm doing, sharing things or talking about it on the show, things like that. But you can't really, like, if people have like a belief, it's like no one can convince them. They kind of have to wake up themselves.
Yeah, because they're in a cult.
Yeah.
They're in a cult. That's all
it is like that cult mentality. So it's like over time, they'll eventually wake up, but you can only, you can't force somebody to, but eventually they see it because the truth overpowers everything else. And if somebody were to call me a transphobe, I just laugh. Like, I'm not scared of them at all. I'm like, I just want women's rights to be back to how they should be.
I don't really see that. Like you're right, April. I don't really see people getting called transphobic anymore because it's kind of lost its meaning now. Because
it's lost its meaning.
Same like the word.
Same with like
turf.
Yeah,
turf doesn't mean anything anymore. I wear my turf T-shirt everywhere because remember when it first came out, they're like, "Oh my god, I don't know if you could wear that shirt." I'm like, now it's like, whatever. But it's crazy how things have changed, and so.
Yeah, I do think that things are changing really fast, and like I've said before, I think within 2 years this will all be pretty much done. I really do.
It's a fad. It's definitely a fad, and it's like one of those things. That's why, like, Linda Blade's really big on keeping me at bay because, like, I wanted to post a picture of that lifter from BC who's going to be competing in June, and she's like, "Don't give them attention. That's what they want. If you give them attention, they will feed off of it. So don't even post his photos." So I was like, okay. Yeah. And it's true. It's kind of like when you talk about a subject more and more, it gives it more attention. So it's kind of like the whole TikTok thing, right? People are so obsessed, and it came out during COVID, and that's when this whole gender ideology thing exploded, and kids thought they were a he than a she. And so it's the same with suicide, right? The more you talk about suicide, the more people are going to commit suicide. It's just, so I like to pump out information that's factual. I like to pump out positive stories. Even that, like the Leah Thomas thing, that was a small win. That was awesome. Like, just keep pumping out the positive stuff. I have friends, like, I'm really good friends with Buck Angel, actually, and a wonderful transgender. I'm actually going to meet him in August when I go to Venice Beach, and we're actually going to try to do a podcast with Blair White and Buck. So that would be amazing.
That'd be good. It'd be interesting. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I want Blair White just to stand on the Venice Beach boardwalk, and I want to see how many guys go by and go, "Wow, she's hot."
Yeah.
Because, like, honestly,
it'd be interesting to see the reactions. Yeah.
I know. It's funny. But anyways, I guess Blair's super, super right-wing. Buck's not even as right-wing as Blair, but so I think it would be very interesting because Buck's like, "Oh, you would love it," because Blair's more right-wing than Buck is. So, but anyways, it's just, but like I'm saying, you have this cult that tries to brainwash you or try to control you, and they're the ones that you can tell are super, super insecure that need the validation. But then I can sit down with a transgender, either a transgender athlete or someone like Buck, and have a civil conversation, and I can hear both sides. Like, I like to hear what's going through Buck's head, and Buck likes to know how I feel, right? And you can have a nice, civil, peaceful, respectful conversation, right? So there is, you have the cult mentality, and then you have just the normal people that just want to live their lives.
Yeah, of course. There's always, like, it's like, it's generalized, but that's just because that's the part that's the loudest, if I'm explaining that right. Like, the bad parts are the ones that, like, shout the loudest. The other ones, they just want to go about their lives, not be bothered. They still have, like, their head screwed on. It's just like the only other, like, one I can think of is, like, Caitlyn Jenner. Like, he knows, and he's spoken publicly, no, men shouldn't be in women's sports, because I was an athlete, and I know that
but
like
Caitlyn Jenner
men would dominate.
But Caitlyn Jenner is not seen as part of the trans community now.
Of course, because he says all this.
Yeah.
And he's like, I know that I'm not a real woman. He's like, I know that, like, you know, and also he's right wing, right? So like,
he's a big Trump fan.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not like somebody who really watched like Keeping Up with the Kardashians or whatever, but I obviously know who Bruce Jenner was. And so, like when he transitioned, whatever, like that was huge news at the time. But it's like, at least like it's good to hear sometimes like these people just like speak common sense. And they're like, of course, like I know I'm not a real woman, but yeah, do I like to look this way or dress this way? For sure. And do I want to just go about living my life? Yeah. But am I stupid to think that men should compete with women? No. Like there's a clear difference, you know, and he doesn't even compete with golf, I guess, with his female friends. Like when they want to go and play in tournaments, he never participates.
To me, it's like the transgender community should see what Bruce Jenner /
Caitlyn Jenner
has said, and think, that's put this argument to bed, because this is a person who used to be, you know, in the men's group winning medals, and now they've, you know, and now they, you know, say, you know, and now she's Caitlyn, or he's
Caitlyn,
but still, at least it sounds like, I mean, I don't know, let's say what he does on a daily basis, if he goes into women's bathrooms or not. So like, you know, I don't know to that extent. I don't even follow him, but it's just, it's nice to hear like that opposing side, but of course it does get silenced. And I've seen a lot of like hate for Caitlyn from trans people online and stuff, because of course, like it's not supporting that narrative of, you know, trans women are women, trans women should compete in women's sports and do this and go there and, you know, be in the women's prisons, all this stuff. It doesn't like fit that perfect little narrative that they have. So, you know, anybody who calls it out, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, you're not part of this, even though it's like, well, that is a trans person. So I mean,
remember the trans cult, they don't like Buck either. And the reason why I had this conversation with Buck, and same with Caitlyn, is they don't like anyone that lives in reality. So they fear. So I don't know what the word would be for, hey, you have a phobia of reality, but you just kind of throw it back at them and say, I guess you're afraid of reality, because both of them they live in reality. Buck himself has said, hey, I'm not going to go into the washroom if I make someone uncomfortable. I'm not going to go into the sports. You know, I admit that my mind does not match my body. I'm a transsexual, you know, and they hate that. They hate that because I mean, here I'm using pronouns. Oh, actually, I have a story to tell you about pronouns, actually.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Because I am using pronouns with Buck, because it's really hard for me to wrap my head around that Buck was actually a female, because every time I look at Buck, I'm like, oh, it's just Buck, right, with a beard, whatever. But I actually, because I think everyone knows this, I don't use pronouns. I don't play into the language and stuff. So I actually spent some time with a detransitioner in British Columbia, and her name's Kelly. But anyways, very similar story to what I did growing up with alcohol abuse, had sexual abuse as well growing up, and she went on hormones and tried to basically, I don't know what happened with the transition, but now is on the way back to being female, or is.
Right.
But anyways, we were at a store trying to rent a car together because we were driving out to Nanaimo to the Meghan Murphy talk, and we had to use her driver's license. And the guy at the counter looked at it, and her picture on the card just looked like a man, right? Even though she's very much female. And he addressed her as a sir. And I was like, it's a ma'am. And I was like, I freaked out on him. So I go, that's a woman. I got so defensive. And then when she left the room, I said, she's a detransitioner. I'm here trying to keep female sports female. We're in British Columbia on a mission. We are here to educate people, show her some respect. And I was like, I just went crazy. But I was like, I could see now why people kind of do get their nose out of joints when you don't use someone's pronouns where they really care about them or they're close to them, because usually I just don't give a shit, right? So I just thought it was kind of like I think it was like a wake up call for me, right? Maybe it was like
wait a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God. Yeah, that's true.
Well, we've went to the hour, but I just want to play you this story. What we're going to play on the show, actually. Let's bring this up.
All right. And thanks for the comment, Zach,
Thanks for the comment, Zach. Much appreciated.
Yeah.
Right, let's bring this up.
Which one? This?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
This crazy story which came out. Yes. I think it was yesterday.
There we go.
So LA City Council members have removed no U-turn traffic signs in a gay neighborhood. They say the signs were homophobic. And this, to me,
you just can't make this stuff
to me,
up.
like the amount of things that they're trying to take down because it might be offensive has just gone completely off the charts now. And this is just nuts. So I want to get your reaction to this.
She might. I think you've seen it on.
Have you seen it already?
I haven't seen the story yet.
Okay.
Let's play it.
I was like, I wasn't sure if you liked it on Instagram or not.
No.
So I shared it.
LA City Council members Hugo Soto Martinez and Nithya Raman were on hand today to help remove the signs. They say the no cruising and no U-turn signs were put up in the 1990s to prevent people in the gay community from meeting up with other gay people.
What?
I was also surprised that these U-turn signs were still up. And at first, they seem a little, okay, it's just a no U-turn sign. But when you learn the history of it and you realize that these were used to profile gay people, it's so important that we have these removed.
The LA City Council members say the signs were put up after the gay community began to grow and because there was a gay bar in that area.
What's your thoughts on this, April?
Well, I mean,
it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Well, again, it shows that person or people could literally just ignore that and just it's a U-turn sign. But of course, they had to make it all about themselves, the narcissistic attitudes. I mean, again, to me, it comes down to control, insecurity. It's just another thing on their list, right?
I know, but it's like it's a traffic sign.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's a traffic sign. So I mean, tomorrow will be another thing, right? That'll be offended by it. They'll get offended by an eggplant in the grocery store. So
it's too phallic.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, we've got a couple of comments on Instagram about this, and I was like, well, yeah, next they're gonna say they're offended by the stop sign because it means stop being gay or something. I mean, I don't know. It's how did that even get it's well, I guess now, even though it was illegal to do U-turns there, no police officer can stop you for doing a U-turn because you'll be like, well, where's the sign? You guys took it down. So it's not illegal. You can't give me a ticket anymore. I mean, they're controlling traffic now. Where they're going to change laws about certain traffic signs because they might be offensive. I don't know. I don't think it was ever that deep.
It won't get to that point. It's just a bunch of
no U-turn. That's it. It's not that deep.
Yeah.
You see them everywhere. Does that really mean that they're just trying to? I don't even understand how it's anti-gay.
It's not anti-gay. That's the whole point.
It's you're trying to happen, or was this in San Francisco or LA or something?
This was LA, I think. If you scroll up, LA City. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, again, yeah. California has been captured for sure.
Well, yeah, that's why we're going to San Francisco in August, and I warned my boyfriend. I was like, get ready for it because. I remember going there when I was 18, and that's when drag queens came out. And I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with drag queens, as long as it's
adults,
but not in front of kids. But
that one clip where they're like, your kids will see us, your kids will love us, your kids will join us. It's like, why are you so obsessed with kids? Drag for adults is totally fine. That's been around for decades. No one disputes that like drag
it's
is
entertainment.
entertainment.
Yeah,
for adults.
It's always been that way. But
it's
now,
like, why are you obsessed with reading to children, twerking in front of children, exposing yourself, like wearing really inappropriate clothing, accepting tips from children? Like, it's just so gross, and like it's sexualizing children for no good reason. Like,
well, there's no reason it should be going on full stop.
Yeah, there's only like really like sinister reasons to me, and like I just don't get it. But I mean, drag for adults, like I don't care. Like if you find that entertaining, then go. Like, but for kids, it's like no. Like, can we stop? You know, in so many different ways, trying to like sexualize children or expose them to sexual content. Like it's enough is enough.
It's just confusing as well because a kid doesn't understand this. So if you have a drag queen who's just a man with makeup and a wig on, telling them stories, the kids will be thinking, well, you're a man, but you dress like this.
Are you supposed to be Elsa, but with a beard?
Like, what is going on here? It's just confusing because kids don't understand any of this stuff. So,
but that's why they target kids, because the kids don't understand. They're so easily influenced and they're so innocent that they accept them, whereas adults will challenge them, and so that's why they gravitate towards kids. And it's not even some I do believe definitely want to sexualize and groom them for sure, but otherwise it's like they just want to be around kids because they want to be validated, because these kids will give them their validation. And it's so sick that they want to, you know, whether it's a man's fetish to wear a dress, that a 5-year-old's going to be giving that man their sexual fetish like fulfillment because this little kid accepts them. And, you know, it's just gross. It's just like no different than that man that has the baby and he's breastfeeding the baby. Like, it's just gross. Yeah. So,
you know, it's really disgusting.
I really hope these days are coming to an end soon. I really do.
Because I mean, it is like, chest feeding is a fetish. And it's also, again, really insulting on women. And I mean, I am someone who's breastfed both my daughters, and so I'm like, it's a lot more than that, and it's also nothing sexual. At times it's just exhausting, and you know, like it's painful, and it's like, of course you're also bonding with your baby, which is beautiful, but it's like, it's not like every time you hear them talk about anything like this, it's like, it's so euphoric, and like I had all these, it's just like nothing about it is euphoric. Okay, it is beautiful, but there's also like the dark it's, you know, aspects of it that we go through. Like, it's just it just shows and exposes that they know nothing about what it is to be a woman.
It's this simple. Okay, as a man, you just don't think about breastfeeding a kid. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. It just doesn't come into your head. So when you have men pretending to be women and then getting all euphoric because they're having a baby suck on their nipples, that's a sexual that's like a fetish, right?
Yeah.
Because no man thinks about breastfeeding a kid. It just doesn't enter our brains. So, you know, there's definitely something which isn't right there, you know, and it shouldn't be promoted by people like the NHS in the UK, who was saying a few months ago that that chest feeding was fine because the milk, which is produced from all these drugs and chemicals, is just as good as real breast milk from a woman. I mean, can you believe this bullshit?
Yeah,
it's insane.
It's insane and insulting.
But we need that. What I say the other day, they have to make asylums great again. We need to bring the psych hospitals back.
I know, bring mental institutions back. You know, those things were really handy for some of these people because, like, you know, the things that are just being allowed to be said and done and saying, oh, yeah, this is scientifically proven. No, it's not. It's like pseudoscience.
We'll make some T-shirts, MMIGA, make mental institutions great again.
April, let's get on that. Put it on your website. Honestly, I mean, it is crazy. But I mean, I think people know that like the whole chest feeding thing is a load of bullshit, because how can you even argue that a man taking a bunch of drugs versus a woman just naturally producing it? And also a man who does take a bunch of drugs can only do it for like a couple of months and then it like runs out. Whereas a woman, if she's successful, can do it for multiple years. Like, it's just, it's just insane. Like, you know, as a woman, like you're like thinking about like, oh my God, I can't even have a glass of wine. Can I take Advil? Like I have a really bad headache, or should I just push through it? And then here's like a man taking a bunch of drugs, and that's all okay. It's like it's just laughable.
It's laughable.
But yeah.
But anyway, we'll leave it there, April. It went past the hour, I know, but you might have stuff to do. It's Saturday night, so I don't want to keep
yeah, that's true. Some people do have more exciting lives.
Yeah. We don't do anything. You know, we don't have lives, but
we do a date night occasionally, and that's about it. But I'm fine with that. You know, I like being at home and chilling sometimes too.
Yeah, me too.
Do you have anything coming up? Like, are you going to be doing anything?
No, I'm taking a little bit of a break right now. I'm trying to enjoy my summer and take a break from all the trans-sanity. So I'll let your viewers know, though. I still have my, if you go on my website, I'm still selling the female pride t-shirts, as well as It's Not My Job to Validate You t-shirts. It's for June, so I posted them for Pride Month specifically. So if people order those 2 t-shirts during Pride Month, that their name gets put into a Keep Female Sports Female prize pack, and they get Keep Female Sports Female camouflage hat. They get an 8x10 autograph photo and a whole bunch of stickers. So we're just trying to get those t-shirts pumped out into the public as much as possible. So.
Yeah, I still need to order a couple for the girls, actually. Do you still have kids ones?
Yeah, we have kids, we have babies, we have onesies, we have kids line now, and I'll
definitely get some for the girls.
We'll definitely get some for the girls.
I know.
100%.
They have like girl power or something t-shirts as well. Like that, I got them when they were like so much younger, but I bought them big on purpose. Yeah. And like they love wearing those. I need to get them some of these.
But you tell the girls like all the time how amazing it is to be a girl. You know,
I do.
All the time.
And like just that, like, you know, whatever they're doing, it doesn't like, there's no boundaries like, oh, I can't do that because a boy can. I'm like, a girl can do anything. Like you just have to work hard. And then like, even when they don't want to like, let's say eat like my eldest doesn't really like to eat yogurt, but I'm like, yeah, but yogurt's so good for you. It builds your muscles. It makes you really strong, you know, strong like a girl. And she's like, girl power. And I'm like, exactly. And they're really into like Powerpuff Girls right now. And I'm like, oh, I'm so proud because I love Powerpuff Girls. Bring back like the OG cartoons and like they're the best. And like, but I think like, sorry, I know I'm going off now. But Powerpuff Girls, like,
to be expected.
I know, but rewatching Powerpuff Girls a little bit, like with them, like, I mean, you don't have like a lot of cartoons that really do just focus on like that. And I know it's like cheesy and like it's 3 like girls like that are like really strong and like are basically superheroes, but they're like teenagers or something. I don't even know how old they are. But again, it's kind of like, yeah, but then that's like building up like the kids like confidence too when you see like a strong like little girl. Like even though the concept is so funny, they were just made in a lab. But I definitely can see like probably why I never questioned who I was. You know what I mean? Like some of these cartoons now like are like hiding like non-binary characters and stuff, and like so you're just like I don't really trust them as much. But anyway, it's my whole little tangent. Sorry. You know, I just want to do my part and like encourage the girls to be like confident.
You are doing your part.
And that, you know, they don't have to do girly things. They do like girly things, but I mean, if they didn't, I wouldn't care. Like
I've said, when they grow up, they'll see what you're doing, and they'll be really grateful. I can promise you.
Yeah, I hope so.
Will.
You know,
they will.
Yeah,
I want to just make them proud.
Yeah,
you know.
Anyway,
we'll
leave it there.
All right.
Again. Thanks so much, April, for coming on.
Yeah,
no problem.
For sure.
Right.
We're going to put April's website, all of her links to social medias in the description of the video, and I'll update it on X too after the live is done. Because I think like we've got over 50 people watching on X. So guys, make sure you see the update after the show. Make sure you like it, share it. Obviously, share it out to anybody and everybody, or just onto your own profile. And turn on notifications for when we go live, and just keep supporting April and other women in your life. Call things out as you see them. Don't be shy. Use your voice. Tides are slowly turning, I think, as well. And you know, we have to be strong and also fight for women's rights, because we matter. Who doesn't have a woman in their life? You came from a woman. All right. So who doesn't support women at the end of the day. But yeah, it was so good to see you, April.
Good to see you guys.
And I'm sure I'll be texting you.
Yeah, we'll text. All right. See you guys.
All right. See you.
Take care.
Bye. Bye.
Okay, yeah. So that was April. So great to have her on the show again. It's always great to speak to April.
I know. Love talking to her. Love chatting.
Yeah.
She's
just brilliant. And we've said this a million times, but she's such a great just a great voice for women.
For sure.
Just brilliant.
And she's so easy to talk to, so lovely, so kind, like just very genuine. Like you don't think like when you're talking to her, even if it's off camera, on camera, like you don't feel like there's just like this like personality like that she's like trying to play up. Like what you see is what you get. And we love that because, we're like that, we're not any different off camera. I mean, I feel like we show a lot of our personality on camera, the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever. But, I think that that's really important to be able to like speak your own thoughts and opinions. And you don't have to agree with everybody, but it's important, like we always say, like to have those conversations. And even if you don't agree with something, it's good to have discussions, hear opposing like points of view. And, of course you might not agree with them, but we like as like a society should have some mutual respect, whether it's in this topic or just like with cultures, like anything, like, the way you raise your children, like there's so many different things that you might clash on, but you can still be respectful to each other. So keep having those conversations.
Very true, guys. We'll leave it there. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern, with a guest on as well. We've got George.
Yeah, we're gonna
coming back on the show.
We'll post that tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll post that tomorrow of all the details. But yeah, it's going to be a great show.
For sure. He's very smart. If you guys should go back and watch the other episode. I think we had a little mystery guest icon on the thumbnail. But yeah, very, very smart kinesiology student. But yeah, we'll be back tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern.
Take it easy, guys.
Take it easy.